So this is my PowerPoint on the Unbelievable series, specifically episode 4. Okay, let's start with a plot recap. Okay, so the detectives visit an elderly victim of the rapist who lives in a frat house as the resident grandma, whose story is similar to the other victims, with details such as like forcing her to shower, being gentle with her, and dressing up. They go to the detectives, they go to the FBI for help, they talk to an agent. The agent notes that these rapes are becoming more violent and extreme over time, like an addict who becomes more extreme to get their fix. The first victim, Marie, there's an arrest warrant. She finds out that there's an arrest warrant for her and that she's due for court this afternoon. She doesn't have a lawyer, so the lady at the desk convinces a public defender to pass through to take her case. The public defendant has has Marie plead not guilty so she can get a plea deal. While at home with one of her adopted moms, whose name is Colleen, they see a case reported in the news that's similar to Marie's. Colin pleads with Marie to go back to the police, but she refuses. The detectives narrow down their search until they find a college student who has a history of rape and a birthmark on the same spot as a rapist, but it turns out not to be him as he has an alibi. The detectives then try to visit another victim who escaped by jumping off the balcony, but instead are met with her mother, who explains she isn't home as she's attending an event related to her faith, which her mother fully supports. The mother then scolds the police for mis for the treatment of her daughter, but reluctantly agrees to let her know that they want to talk to her. Okay, so one of the detectives sees a car matching the description of the rapist on the way home, but it turns out to just be a black man and his son going home. The rapist is white, so like that automatically clears them. The detective sits in silence in her car, realizing the toll this case is taking on her. Okay. In what ways did the movie or television series accurately address the way victimization is handled in the criminal justice system? Well, it showed how victims not always seek help from the police, as was the case of the college student who didn't press charges against the rap bro. It also showed how police may not write a detailed description of what happened in his case in their database or communicate with different sectors about similar crimes. It also briefly explained plea dealing with Marie's fault support case. Yeah, what ways did the movie or television series inaccurately address the way victimization is handled in the criminal justice system? From what I've seen, it seems fairly accurate to me. To be honest, I have nothing for you on this one, with this one. To be honest, it seems spot on, basically. Okay, let's continue. So, in what ways did the movie or television series show the impact that the victimization uh, had on society? It showed how it could put stress on law enforcement, specifically if they're having trouble finding the culprit, as seen in episode, the ending of the episode. They're tertiary victims who experience viscerous traumatic stress and compassion fatigue. It showed how the victims can be either sympathized with or disregarded by society and those around them. The old lady, for example, mentions how one of the frat bros now walks her to her car after the incident. Meanwhile, in contrast, Marie is harassed due to everyone thinking she lied about being raped by the police, by people she called friends, by the media, etc. It shows how family members will often be angered by their victimized kin being wronged in some way, or at least them perceiving them to be wronged in some way. The mother of the new age victim, for example, was angry at the authorities because they missed her case. Meanwhile, Colin was angry because Marie told the truth about being raped initially and lied about not being raped, and refusing to go back to the police to explain what happened. Now there's evidence to back up her initial claim. In other words, they're co-victims or secondary victims. How did the criminal justice system respond to the victimization? In Marie's case, the police bullied her to saying she lied about being raped and now is being falsely accused of making a false accusation, which being falsely accused of making a false is like kind of ironic, but okay. In the case of the new age victim, they dismissed her case after she was let out of the hospital. The old lady seems to have been the only case that wasn't really mishandled. The detectives also were aware enough to not force her to repeat details she already mentioned, only asking her about details that she didn't mention originally, only now remembering. Basically, they mishandled 2 out of the 3 cases in this episode. Not very good. Not very good. Or track record in this case. What, if any, social, organizational, or political policies were addressed regarding the victimization? The frat boy they suspect it was a rapist gave some insight into the rape culture on college campuses, like accusing the girl he raped of making false allegations, and Fred didn't the detective of how his dad would do them like last time. He also noted that it was also noted that the only reason he was charged with was because the victim didn't press charges against him, not that he didn't actually do it. One of the class, one of one of his male classmates said that everyone knows he forces a girl to have sex, and recalls leaving a party after he saw him carry a drunk girl upstairs. He mentioned how domestic violence is normally high among the police, probably due to the stress they're under, which makes sense. The rapist was aware of the police's tendency to not communicate between departments, and how put up they didn't put a full description into her database, only basic details. Due to the rapist's awareness of police habits, it was speculated that it was a cop who was hurting these women. They were careful to not alert their fellow cops so the rapist isn't made aware that they're on to him. One way to one way they did this was by having the cops with a military background, which the rapist is speculated to have due to saying that he was road traveled, sign up on a Veterans Day list. Overall, this episode masterfully explores the possibility of those meant to prevent and handle victimization being the ones who victimize others. This is in addition to exploring the frat bro rape culture college campuses. And here are my sources, which is basically the book or textbook, and of course the episode itself.